welcome to another edition of Pitch BrandTalk. I'm very happy to have with me today Saibal Biswas. He's the SVP and Head of Marketing, PR, and Partnership at MediBuddy. Saibal, welcome to Pitch BrandTalk.
Thanks for having me here. It's always a great opportunity to feature in these talks where we also get an opportunity to share our insights and learnings from the industry.
Saibal, I was just, looking at your recent campaign, which is Men's Health campaign, which you recently, came up with, which focuses on basically how people, delay going for checkups. It's not just men, but women also. As a rule, what I know a little bit is that you have to go for annual checkups, and it's always better to go for annual checkups. And after a certain age, maybe it should be biannually or quarterly. But as a country and as a society, I don't know whether that is something which we deem to be important and probably leave it to very late. So, as a marketer, what has been the challenge for you to address this issue?
I think you have summed it really well. This is one of the big dilemmas which we see, and this is a big contradiction. While everyone understands that, as the proverb goes, a stitch in time saves nine. So what happens is we as consumers, and I have seen this behavior across both men and women, we try to postpone the annual health check because I also,
Correct.
as a business, cater to the health and wellness of corporate India, where we are the largest player. There also, when we look at across industries, across companies, even if an annual health check is given for free as part of your package, which cannot be extended. So which means that in a year, if you don't take that annual health check, you can't accumulate that or get a cash reimbursement in lieu of it. Still, there is so much resistance for someone to get that annual health check done. While we have so many insights where a lot of complexities are easily detected in this annual health check, and a timely intervention prevents not only complications from happening but also prevents surgery or any other interventions which may later be required. So that's definitely the key challenge. Now, how as a marketer we have been trying to navigate these challenges? Of course, there are multiple ways in which we communicate the benefit of having a preventive checkup done at least an annual cadence, and highlighting really good stories of people who have benefited from getting an early detection because of some of their parameters being deranged in annual health checkup, which prompted a doctor consultation, which again prompted further series of diagnostic tests where we have had early cancer detection, early nervous damage to the central nervous system detected, early diabetes detection. In fact, I will leave you
Correct.
two, three other data points. So, how we as a marketer drive that. See, India is known as the diabetes capital of India. Now, in most of the cases, diabetes, etc., is detected after 2 3 years where you have already had it. Now, what
Okay.
we do is we leverage World Health Organization days where there is a diabetes day, there is some other days related to specific diseases. We build marketing campaigns around those, including the one which you mentioned, Men's Health Day, Women's Health Day, where there are
Correct.
specific things like the breast cancer is a very common ailment for women. So we pick up all those days and then we create a 360-degree awareness on not only what MediBuddy can do when that condition has been detected, but focus more on what is that you want to do as a consumer, or what you should be doing as a consumer, what are the kind of checks, etc., you should be doing so that you catch it very early, or you make those lifestyle changes where a lot of these lifestyle diseases you can prevent. While we do make money by solving people's problem when they get ill, but the vision and mission of the company is very clear. I would ideally not want that problem to happen at all. And if, as a brand, we are able to ensure that there is enough awareness where preventable complications, including lifestyle diseases, or even if it is something as complicated as a cancer, can be detected early. Today, we have the technology and the medical sciences available to ensure that we are able to manage that condition and move the person towards cure. So that's always been the focus. Take World Health Days, build a story around it, be always on air where you are always doing something which is contextual, which is speaking to the audience when they are most receptive to information, and then building this awareness basis testimonials, basis real life stories, and amplifying them in social wherever possible, amplifying them through PR, and then ensuring that we are able to reach as many people as possible and slowly move India towards where preventive healthcare is top of the mind for as many people as possible, both men and women included.
Now, see, a lot of people, when they, word of marketing is very big over here. Word of mouth, sorry.
Yes.
If whether it's a doctor, whether it's a hospital, or even a diagnostic center, you generally look at people around you for referrals before you tend to go.
Right.
So, in this scenario, what I'd like to ask is, how did you build the brand trust and salience for MediBuddy? Also, you have taken on Amitabh Bachchan. You have engaged with him as your brand ambassador. Now, we all know that Amitabh Bachchan also played a very big role when it came to the polio campaign in India. So, how were you able to leverage him also?
Okay. So there are two parts to the question. Let me answer both. First is, as you rightly said, in healthcare, trust is very important, specifically for a new player who has been there for only the last 10 years like us. And because why is that time frame important is people remember a brand when they have used the service and got what they wanted. So in healthcare, quality is something where you can't have even 0.001% wrong. You need to ensure that the diagnosis is correct, the treatment is correct, so that there is recovery. Now that happens when a person goes through the entire journey of becoming aware of the brand, then considering the brand, and then using the brand services. So while it is easy to create that awareness, but to build trust is something where the person needs to have interacted with that brand. And some of the interactions could be in services which are more frequent, like medicine delivery or a doctor consultation. But actually, what we also know is when the brand has had a massive impact on your life, whether you have detected something through annual health check or any other health checks, or whether the brand was able to solve a problem where you were not able to diagnose what you were suffering from, but we provided a doctor who was able to correctly diagnose and handhold you towards recovery, or God forbid, where you had to do a surgery care which was assisted by MediBuddy. So all these are life-changing things. The more we are able to deliver the promise of quality at an affordable rate, and more consumers navigate their healthcare journey with MediBuddy's help, the more we are able to build that trust. And of course, as you rightly mentioned, word of mouth is very important, and that is also we have seen happening. In fact, that is what I try to amplify when I build a marketing, where one of the key strategies is use real life stories of people who have had a positive experience from MediBuddy as a brand, whether it is on doctor consultation, whether it is on health check diagnostics, or whether it is on surgery care. Because that is when you see actual people who have benefited talk about what is possible, that is when a brand over a period of time is able to build that trust. Uh, Coming to the second part of that question, which was about Amitabh, the reason we took Amitabh Bachchan as a brand ambassador was because he has a pan India recognition and appeal across age groups. Plus, he is also a person who is the expert in his field. He has been there right from the days of my parents, and today my daughter, who is 13, she also recognized Amitabh Bachchan. So Amitabh Bachchan has a recognition. He is someone who is trusted as a celebrity to sort of be the expert in his industry. I think having Amitabh Bachchan also was also triggered because he's also the brand ambassador of Government of India when we had this pandemic. So coming out of
Correct.
pandemic, where Amitabh Bachchan played a lead role in removing the fear out of the pandemic, while it is creating awareness on nudging the people to do vaccination and control the spread of the diseases. It was his voice, which was something which everyone remembers. And going forward, when we met him and we told him that our vision is similar to what probably you have taken up as a pro bono thing for Government of India, I think that is what resonated both also with him. And we have in fact been having him for the last 3 years, and we intend to even continue that association because I think uh, he and MediBuddy are a perfect match. We want to be, and we are already the leader when it comes to healthcare in India. We are breaking new boundaries like he has done in his career, where uh, he has evolved with the times. I think we are also as a brand trying to learn, evolve, and as you rightly said in the beginning, we have started with one part of healthcare and then we spread across different parts. I think there's a lot of synergy between him and a brand, and in healthcare, we need to ensure also that when you are taking those major initiatives of moving India towards the preventive first or ensuring that high quality healthcare is affordable, accessible, all, I think having him as the face gives us that recognition, which otherwise would have taken slightly a longer time to build.
Now, yours is a category which is, open, which is actually for content marketing, it's perfect.
Yes.
Because, like you mentioned, diabetes. So, there's so much of content you can put out with diabetes. Also, I want to, and you also mentioned that, you use a lot of the people, your customers, to,
Correct.
further spread the word. So basically, I just want to know, so how do you leverage advocacy, your content marketing, as well as where influencers?
Got it. I think, see, the key thing here is for this category healthcare, what we need to understand is the frequency of use case of that category, which means that how many times in a year you will use the category is actually very low compared to some of the other categories which use similar marketing interventions. I think that's one critical insight. And also, as the leader in healthcare, I don't want that frequency to increase. So I will not do anything, and this is where we are very clear in the company that MediBuddy will never do anything to sell a solution or create a condition to create demand. In healthcare, we are not in the business of demand creation for healthcare. We are in the business of ensuring that if there is a need for healthcare, we are also one of the brands which you sort of recognize and look up to for helping you in your healthcare journey till the time you have completely recovered. So these are 2 points which I want to reinforce before I answer your question, because everything revolves around this being at the crux. We are very clear we will never invest in creating demand for healthcare because that is something which is not good for India and for society. But we will always be present when there is a need for healthcare and when needs to be affordable, accessible, and ensure high quality is delivered at a price where more and more people can afford it. That is there. Now, second, the frequency itself of healthcare is very low. Like we have our internal data across the large sets of audience we cater to. Normally, people in India see a doctor anywhere between 3 or 4 times a year. Medicine delivery, if you have chronic conditions like BP, like diabetes, etc., you may buy medicines monthly basis. Then
Correct.
there is health check, which is often triggered by doctor consultations, and doctor not able to diagnose what you have, then he will refer you for a few diagnostic, or you may do a company sponsored annual health check, which is again annual. So then, God forbid, I will not anyone in the audience to also go through a general anesthesia led surgery, but surgery is typically once or twice in a lifetime. I'm not talking about C-section delivery and all, but normally surgical intervention is typically once or twice uh, in your lifetime. So the challenge of this category is there is certain things which you can't do and you don't want to do, and then the category also behaves in this where as a marketer, I don't want to increase my frequency also. Now, what is important in that case is we need to ensure that whatever interventions we are able to do is very, very contextual, so that the audience is receptive to information at that point of time. He is receptive to what is that the brand can do for him, and then he's able to retain it over a period of time. I think that is where content marketing is something which is a marketing intervention, not at a point of time. Like you can do campaigns at a point of time and go out. But when you build a content, whether it's in the form of SEO pages, whether it's form of blogs, whether it's form of videos, whether it's form of any other thing which lasts you over a period of time. Even if I do a PR release of an impact story, that will be there in the ether in some form, which will sort of talk about the brand or the impact the brand did. Or even if I put in testimonials, which are it is video, or whether it's a case study, or whether it's a blog of how someone benefited from doing, say, preventive healthcare, or doing some surgery where actually we were able to facilitate it and he really enjoyed his experience navigating with the brand. Or for that matter, where an annual health check for someone in a leading corporate detected a condition where a timely intervention ensured that he didn't have to suffer. I think this remain in the ether. So that is where all the marketing interventions which we planned in that category are focused on being there, which act and help you over a period of time versus point of time interventions. Like content is very important. Similarly, okay, then you talked about the role of influencers. I think influencers we use, but we use it in a context which is very different. Like it's very different from how influencers are used in some of the other industries, where it is about either promoting a product or it is about talking about what are the new features, etc. But we use it in a very different way. I will just give you an example. We identify the insight and the need when consumers is actually likely to have a demand for the category. Like when, so I travel frequently across cities. Now, today I am in Bangalore. I have my family doctor available who is in a hospital or a clinic near me. I can go to him if there is a healthcare requirement. But suppose I am traveling and I am in Calcutta. So what do I do? So that is where a technology solution where I am able to video consult with the same doctor and tell him that, okay, I am having my BP is today shooting up and I am having maybe some stomach problem. What is the next I can do? So I am able to speak to my favorite doctor because of the technology intervention which we as a platform enable. Now, the insight is then who is the kind of influencers who can help me. So that is where I look at influencers who are maybe influencers with a focus on travel or related sector. But then what they do for me is they articulate and amplify the problem statement in their TG who or in their audience who may be frequent travelers or may like to travel, etc. And then say that if they have a need when they are in a remote location because of the travel or in a different city, they can use some of the services. So it's very different how we use influencers, and I can talk about multiple of them. When we use any of these interventions, I think the channel is very secondary for us. Ideally, it's a very long-term game because of the infrequency of the use case, because I don't want to create demand, but I still want to be top of the mind. So it's a very long-term play we have, where any intervention we do as a channel is based on the objective of what we want that channel to do in the bigger part, and everything to the extent is very, very insight driven for us. That is how we are fundamentally trying to shift some of the demand which is there in offline today, where there is a difference of pricing. Like it is also true that different doctors charge different amounts of money depending on different hospitals. But for us, it is very transparent. It is online. You can look at a particular doctor. You can look at your favorite doctor. You can also choose between different doctors, different hospitals. So that's where the beauty of an aggregation platform comes, where basically, as I said, like we are like the Amazon in terms of healthcare. We are very consumer focused. We want to give consumers a choice when it comes to choosing the service, and then in that journey we are able to also guide and navigate him, so that end of the day he emerges also as a winner.
That's actually interesting the way you use influencers, because personal experience, travel, and food poisoning is something which goes hand in hand. Now, coming on to the customer, can you just tell us the strategy when you're acquiring the customer? And it's not just about acquiring the customer, because you mentioned it's a low involvement category. How do you ensure that the customer comes back? Again, which is the challenge. And now, at this point, you also have access to the customer's health records. So, personalization, can you talk about that?
Sure. I think just one correction. I think it's the highest involvement category. What I was saying was the frequency of use case or the
Correct.
frequency of usage of the category is low.
I stand corrected. I stand
Definitely,
corrected. I'm
healthcare,
sorry. It
definitely
is a very, very
very, very
emotional
high
category,
involvement.
also, and a
Very,
very
very high
emotional.
involvement where you cannot get it wrong. You can have a
Correct.
wrong phone delivery, consumers will still pardon you. But in healthcare intervention, you cannot have a situation where a wrong diagnosis happen or a wrong
Sure.
consultation happen or a wrong surgery happens. Although
Hmm.
it doesn't happen, the industry also has evolved to have its check. I think, see, coming to your question, I think in terms of uh, we in terms of customer acquisition, we have also evolved over a period of time. What we have also realized is that if you try to acquire customers through different services, those are not scalable and efficient. Why? I will tell you also, and this is where uh, the entire strategy of MediBuddy revolves around this. See, any journey in healthcare starts with the with the doctor consultation. So if you are not well, you don't pop up medicines yourself, or you don't do a self recommended diagnostic check. Normally you go and meet a doctor. So doctor consultation, online or offline, is the starting point of any journey. So as a brand, we ensure that we are known for having a doctor available anytime, anywhere, 24 by 7, 365 days, within 10 minutes, even before some of the quick commerce popularized this 10-minute delivery and so on. So we ensured that using technology, a doctor was able to meet you through a video format and was able to diagnose you in an online video call within 10 minutes of your requirement, anytime, anywhere, 24 by 7, 365 days. And all the part of the healthcare journey starts with a correct doctor consultation and a right diagnostic, either online or offline. Now, once we have that, as a brand we focused on investing and scaling up the doctor consultations. Now that is one of the pillars of our strategy. The other pillar is uh, and by the way, we consciously chose not to invest in promoting medicine delivery, etc., because the insight is very strong. When you need a medicine, you need it immediately. When it's a planned purchase, you would probably look at where it is available cheapest. So it's not very sustainable as a strategy. Similarly, for diagnostic, etc., you will eventually go to the diagnostic center which your doctor actually recommends you to. You normally don't choose a particular diagnostic center over another, and so on and so forth for surgery. I think that is one fundamental pillar where we have always consciously invested in owning doctor consultation online and offline as a category, and we will continue to do so. Then the other part of the problem is, as a brand, the cost of acquisition of a customer is also very high in a D2C environment where you are directly acquiring someone. Although we are getting efficient as we speak because of all this, as you rightly identified, content and point, rather than point of time, a period of time interventions. And as the brands become more stronger, the D2C acquisition is coming down. So what are we doing in interim? As the industry leader, what we have also done is we have ensured that we successfully incubate and create large businesses within MediBuddy, which are focused on much efficient ways of serving large number of people. So in this, I would like to talk about a few of the businesses, and this is also related to us acquiring customers. Like we are the largest provider of corporate health and wellness for corporate India, where we have big corporates with, say, employees upwards of 5 lakh plus, and we have multiple such corporates. What happens is you are the preferred health and wellness wallet, either funded by the insurer or funded by the corporate themselves. And you have a OPD package where your consultation, medicine delivery, and even diagnostics, including annual health check, is covered under the package. Now, that ensures that we are covering the top part of organized sector in India, and then their dependents, where we are acquiring them through a B2B route, but serving them through a B2B to
B2C.
C route. So that is one fundamental pillar of our strategy, and we continue to grow in that space every year. And this is something where uh, we see a lot of demand, and there are a lot of cases where MediBuddy has done great work in ensuring that, see, healthcare, and there is one study also which we did with CII and published on the state of corporate health and wellness this year, and we continue to actively work with a lot of industry bodies in ensuring that we are able to improve the employee engagement, productivity, not only in terms of physical health, but also in terms of mental health, which is also very important to ensure a productive workplace. And then, of course, their families and sometimes even their parents are covered. So when you acquire such an employee and he does one transaction, obviously we are able to facilitate further usage of his services. And then when he uses our brand to do something which is sponsored, many a times there are services which he may want to use which are not sponsored. So those are then also facilitated by us. Then on the other hand, there is another business which is very different, where we actively partner with BFSI and NVFCs. Now, who are these people whom this sort of channel caters to? They normally cater to people who are looking at secured and unsecured small amount of loans. They are the people
Okay.
in the middle part of India, a very large set of population who, due to progressive government efforts in that direction, have escaped the poverty trap. But one big healthcare incident will set them back. And these are the people who is the aspiring Indians who are opening their own small companies, or these are people who are opening the small businesses, or people who are doing a lot of innovative things in agriculture, agri industry, or setting up small businesses. Now, these are the people who have a very big risk, because one big intervention problem in healthcare for them
It
also.
is a very big expenditure. Healthcare is a huge expenditure.
So that is where we have been able to partner with a lot of these BFSIs, NBFCs who caters to them, and then we sell a MediBuddy package with them along with their secured and unsecured loans, where uh, as part of the loan they do, a lot of their healthcare needs are covered within this. And we have also done a lot of impact, and there are a lot of impact stories. In fact, that is one thing in marketing I would like to amplify, because that's actually having an impact in the middle part of India. Because see, the lower part of India, thanks to a lot of the lowest or the poorest part of India, have been covered by a lot of government interventions, but the middle part has been left. So this is one channel which we are actively participating. So there is corporate, then there is this business, then there is a D2C business, which is direct acquisition, which of course we do through a lot of this, as I said, content, digital marketing, a social presence in relevant channels, then creating that 360 degree where we are talking about uh, specifically contextual conditions, like when are the times when healthcare or a pandemic or severity in healthcare escalation happen. This happens typically when the seasons change, whether it's a transition from a summer to a rainy season, from a rainy season right now to winter, where the air quality index in a lot of parts of northern India is really poor. What are the precautions you can do if you have breathing or other problems? What are the interventions you can do? All this we use more from an education perspective. Of course, we believe that if we as a brand are able to provide the right education, the right information, when the need happens, and we talked about it becoming an infrequent use case, when the need happens, the consumer is probably going to look up to us as a brand also, other from other well-known brands who are also doing a great job to provide him with the right expertise and guidance for him to recover. So that we do in a D2C format. Then the other form of acquisition is where, again, by 2047, Government of India has a policy where it's about insurance for all. Now, for someone to underwrite insurance, what is required is a preventive or a health check on what is his current condition, and that in way also is a mandate where then the life insurance companies are able to grant him a policy. Now, for that, I think we have a big arm which helps facilitating those health checks, and that is also one of the ways in which we acquire our consumers. And last, which is where we have been investing for the years, is how do we ensure, should anyone in the audience segment have a surgery care requirement, how do we partner with the leading hospitals, insurers, to ensure that the surgery, if required, is made accessible and available at the cheapest cost, both for the insurer as well as for the person who is undergoing the surgery, and ensure that when he requires the surgery, typically it's a condition where he's really troubled. So how do you provide the guidance, etc., where you are able to, he's able to navigate, he or she is able to navigate the journey. So these are main channels which we use, 5 of them, for acquisition. We are, as I said, because for us, for the business to be sustainable and profitable, for us to be eventually catered to that goal of serving a billion Indians, which is a journey which the brand is on, I think we mix and match different channels. Some of the channels work better, and by channels here I mean my consumer acquisition or brand building channels work uh, much better in for few distribution channels like corporate affinity. So we mix and match it so that we have that distribution channel focus also, but at the same point of time we are able to build the big story. More than the big story, I think what is important is, in general, when a person falls sick or he is not well, it's very difficult for him to identify also what sort of medical interventions is required. I think we as a brand also want to be perceived as an expert, where if someone comes to us, at least even if he doesn't use our service, we should be able to guide him how to best take the next steps, because that is something which will be impactful if we do it in the nice way. At some point of time, in India, there is always going to be a shortage of doctors, a shortage of the infrastructure, and we as a brand will always be present to ensure that we are able to deploy technology to ensure that we leverage whatever is available. And the last part of the question was, what do we do with the data? I think uh, we ensure that we are compliant with all the data policies which are there in the country. I think healthcare is a very sensitive data, whether it comes from
Correct.
managing the corporate health and wellness related data, where at times we have double blinded studies where we are doing even impact studies. The corporate HR doesn't know who are the employees who went as part of the program. I think data and insights also over a longitudinal period of time help us build that relationship on uh, on few things, and I think this is still evolving. Of course, deployment of AI and machine learning is helping accelerate it, but and of course, a lot of government of India initiatives which are there are also helping put a structure to it in terms of the middle layer, and we as some of the providers are sitting on the top who are also ensuring. But fundamentally, this is same as any financial data. Data is actually owned by the consumer. Data is not owned by any of the service providers or intermediaries, and consumer should have the choice of having the choice and the power to determine what data she wants to share or he wants to share. I think we are fully compliant to that, but having data also passing through our systems ensure that we are able to generate insights at aggregate level Now, if I
Hmm.
generate insights at aggregate level, I am able to also recommend at an aggregate level. These are things which you need to do proactively to prevent
Okay.
complications. We are also able to uh, look and predict where the demand is expected to come, and then accordingly, because we are again a marketplace, so we are able to again ramp up supply to ensure that there is not a mismatch, because deploying technology along with the data ensures that if a demand comes from a particular part of the country for a particular kind of disease or element which may not be catered locally, being knowing that this is the situation which triggers, like I today know for a fact, because of the pollution and the air quality index, there is a lot of health related problems happening. So people will be coughing, people will be sneezing, people will have headache, people will fall sick, and they will do a general physician consultation. So I am able to build that capacity bandwidth at the back, where anyone doesn't have to wait beyond the point, because some of it, if you don't do the right interventions, can get serious. Similarly with other conditions, I think data that way is helpful both from us planning, but majorly what I see is over a period of time when we are aggregating the data, it is also uh, useful for us to also publish the data back to the industry, like we have taken an initiative for corporate, because all the research is basis our data. But I believe that if most of the companies in India adopt a policy for their employees which takes care of their not only physical health but for their emotional health, and we are able to tell them of use cases, success stories along in partnership with other industry bodies, that will ensure that over a period of time corporate India will be most productive. Uh, and then employees also see that value which they are dependent on their employers. So I think a lot of things can be done with data. We are still trying to figure our heads around what are the possibilities of it, and as we accumulate more data layers and build that over a period of time, I think in healthcare, just like it has happened a lot in the financial industry, I think healthcare industry will in the next 3 years will move in a similar direction, where everything which I offer to a consumer should ideally be personalized basis what I know about his uh, ailments, about his health condition. Should he choose to share all those with me, of course I want the control to be with the consumer, but if he chooses to share that with me, I should be able to give him a much more personalized solution which is fast, which is effective, efficient for him, rather than spending a lot of time. It should also help with portability of data, because if you have multiple service providers today, a big challenge is you go to a Apollo, you do a diagnostic test, that test may not be recognized in a similar other chain like Narayana, you may have to repeat it again. So now I think because of the government intervention and government forcing all the service providers to upload the data centrally, with the customer being the owner of the data, or the consumer being the owner of the data, for an aggregator like us, this is very good, because it gives the power to the customer to choose between the different service providers and not lock in the customer, because if you unlock the customer, that is when the quality of healthcare, then everything is then dependent on quality, it is dependent on the cost reducing, and which is good for the consumer as such.
I just want to get a quick understanding is where is your marketing spends going? I know it would probably most of it is going to digital, but if you could just briefly tell us where is the money going and are you using traditional media?
Sure. We do use a bunch of traditional as well as digital media. Like I said, for us, the play is a long term play, while uh, that habit change where people moving from doing what they are. Like today, when someone falls sick, the habit is you may not even go to a doctor. You go to a pharmacy and say that I am not feeling well, I have fever, prescribe me something. That's the habit. Now, habit change happens over a period of time. Well, that is a risky behavior, but habit change happens over a period of time. So we are in the business of changing the habit and moving the demand from offline to online. So we do use a bunch of traditional as well as digital media, as well as uh, new age media. But what we look at is what is the intervention required at what point of time. Like I said, as I explained, some of the distribution channels. Now, if I have to ensure that inside a company where I'm the preferred health and wellness service provider, people are still not coming and doing an annual health check, which is defeating the purpose of both the HR of that company and the purpose of MediBuddy. And I then would set up a education camp or health camp, which is as traditional as it gets in educating and doing on the spot solution. The other part of it could be in rural India, where government or maybe some NGO is trying to promote some awareness initiatives and they want to partner with us. Then we will do that outreach program, which is as traditional as it goes. But on the other side, if I were to sort of talk about to a very Gen Z who are more receptive to new age technologies, and they may be early adopters and tech enthusiasts who are very comfortable shopping anything and everything online, who are regularly ordering groceries every day or ordering food from our Swiggy Zomatos. I need to talk to them in a language and in a channel where they are spending time. So then it will be very digital heavy. But what would always be there is anything which I do, I will try to build multiple channels and multiple touch points depending on who my target audience is. Today, as a platform and managing the demand and supply, my target audience itself is different across different channels. In some of the channels where it's a B2B channel, the decision maker could be the CXO, CFO, uh, chief medical officer, as well as the chief human resource officer. Now, if I were to influence them, I would use probably channels inside digital, also specific channels which no other industry may be using to that extent, like a LinkedIn, a Quora, or something else. But when it comes to building a category like growing online consultation, I would then focus on something where I would be telling stories more on a traditional channel, whether it's a TV, or I would be telling stories with more of a digital visual first story, whether it's YouTube. So it is always going to be a mix and match for me, because end of the day, this is the entire category like healthcare which I am trying to transform as a industry leader and make it more something which is actually impactful at scale. So while at different parts where we have focused on channel specific marketing strategy, but I think at some point of time we will do the reverse. In fact, we started with television, then we focused more on digital and new age, but I think at some point of time we would also require to build that reach which is goes beyond something which is more contextual or relevant. We may also have to build that top of the mind awareness of a lot of people who today don't understand that some of the services which they are used to taking in a very traditional route can actually be available at a much high quality guaranteed and much affordable price. So I think at some point of time we may go and tap some of the marquee events in a traditional channel also, which has a much higher reach and impact. But always on is something which will remain, because the category behavior change can only happen when you have consistent communication over a period of time. But we will may support it with some large campaigns which sort of talks about maybe some new interventions which are very relevant to the consumer, because technology is enabling you to do a lot of new things. And the best example for you to understand the direction which your healthcare is moving is to understand the direction which fintech or new age finance, including what UPI did for finance sector, and UHI, which is the unified health interface which the government is proposing, I think will open up a lot of possibilities for the big players to do a multi-channel intervention to create awareness on what new age healthcare can do for high impact in their lives.
Thank you, Saibal, for your time. It was a really insightful discussion. And here's hoping for an impactful MediBuddy going ahead also.
I look forward to having more interactions with you and really appreciate your time. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.